2025 is here and I'm ready to knit my way into the new year. Want to hear my creative goals and how you can set yours? Stick around and let's make this our most inspiring year yet. Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, I'm Arletta and this is a place where creativity meets mindfulness through the magic of knitting. Today I'm sharing my 2025 goals and some tips for setting creative resolutions that are fun, motivating, and totally doable. Whether you're a beginner or a seasoned knitter, let's start this year on a cozy, creative note. My first goal for 2025 is to learn colorwork. There's several different patterns that I'm interested in. I've always admired those stunning multicolored patterns, you know, some of the Fair Isle network or Fair Isle knitting projects that people have out there. Some of the different fun socks. I hate socks. I hate things on my feet in general, except for slippers. I always wear slippers. Anyway, I hate socks in general, but if I have to wear socks, they have to be fun and colorful and bright and obnoxious. So I'm looking forward to actually trying some of that out. I'm ready to dive in to colorwork. I'm starting with a simple pattern to practice stranding techniques. I haven't quite picked it out yet. I think I'm gonna lean towards probably a hat, just because the yarn is bigger, a little more real estate, so to speak, to work with before I dive into getting those fine needles that you use for socks. So I'll put a pattern somewhere up in here and show you here what I'm thinking of. Keep me while I knit while we talk. Next I want to conquer cable knitting. I know, you know, people say cables are really easy. And that they're not that difficult, but for some reason they kind of scare me. Anyone else ever get scared of cables? I think it's because the patterns of them can be so intricate that it just seems a little scary. I just started knitting in April of this year. Well, I guess technically of last year, 2024. So yeah, they're new to me. So my plan is to make I think I'm gonna start with just a simple cabled scarf or a hat again. Hats seem to be really easy for me to just practice different stitches on, so I might do that. And finally, like I mentioned socks earlier again. I don't like socks. I don't like things on my feet. They feel like boa constrictors on my feet so many times. We often get snowed in here where I live. It can be, we've gotten snowed in for as long as, I think the longest we went was 3 weeks, where we were not able to get in or out of our house. So I think I'm going to wait for the socks until that time. I've already got the yarn, I've got the pattern all figured out, everything. But I think that there's just something about sitting around with a cup of cocoa and knitting socks. I don't know, there's just something about that image that just sounds fun. So I'm gonna go ahead and I'll put a picture of this, not necessarily the pattern, but I will put a picture of the book that I'm using for my sock pattern. It's really cool. If you like bright, obnoxious colors, my friends, I say that all the time, bright and obnoxious. My friends say my two favorite colors are bright and obnoxious. So therefore those two words just always kind of go together for me. So I'm gonna put a couple of pictures of some projects that I'm interested in. So here are 3 tips for keeping your knitting resolutions for 2025. Excuse me while I get settled up here again. 1, start small and specific. For example, instead of saying I'll knit more, say to knit 1 project each season. Don't make huge goals. You know, I'm gonna knit 5 pairs of socks, or I'm going to knit 3 sweaters this winter, or whatever. I seem to have a froggy in my throat. Hello, Earl Grey. I love my tea. Number 2, track your progress. I use a knitting journal to jot down my project ideas. I have a couple of different kinds that I'm trying out. One, I've got a knitting good notes journal, so it's digital stickers, all that fun stuff. I've also got a knitting planner that I use in Notion, and I have a hardbound, hand writable, what do you call it? Journal type, and I'll put pictures of all those up here and let y'all see those. I'm not quite sure which one's gonna work out for me, so I'm kind of testing them all out, see how they work for me, see which works best. And I think that's a trick on that, is figuring out what's best for you. You know, sometimes you think of a knitting journal or whatnot. Maybe you think, ah, I've tried that once, it never works for me. But maybe you haven't tried the right format, or maybe you need a video one. You know, this channel can help serve as a bit of a video journal for me, because I plan on keeping you all updated on the status of all my projects. Finally, third, make it fun and flexible. Again, do what works for you. Different people have different ways of doing things. If you lose interest in a project, it's okay to put it down, come back to it, or frog it. If you don't like what you're doing, if you're bored, it's okay to quit and to change your mind and to do something else. Maybe you don't like the word quit. Maybe you should use the word, maybe you're going to, instead of quitting, maybe you're just going to reevaluate your process or recalibrate your thinking. So the goal is to enjoy the process. It's not necessarily the so many times I've seen videos where, you know, how to knit faster, how to you know, whip out a sweater in 2 days or whatever. For me, that's not the goal necessarily. I actually kind of had that some of that over Christmas time here. I made gifts for all the nieces and my nephew, and I'll tell you, by the end of it, it was no longer fun. I really wasn't enjoying it anymore because there was so much pressure to get this much done in this amount of time. I had it scheduled out to where, you know, I got this hat done by this date and that scarf done by that date, and it just lost all the joy in it. So make it fun, make it flexible, switch gears up if you need to. Now it's your turn. What are your knitting goals for 2025? Whether it's learning a new technique, finishing a specific project, or just making more time to knit. I'd love to hear from you in the comments. Let's make 2025 a year of cozy creativity. And don't forget to check out the description box for links to my favorite patterns and tools. I think that you know, the little box down there. So thanks for spending time with me today. If this video inspired you, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share it with your knitting friends. I'll see you in the next video. Happy knitting, and let's make 2025 amazing.